What's up, everybody, and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and answer them here in video format. A ton of questions to get into. Let's just get started with the first one from Peewees Playhouse, who says, how much blame should Andrew Berry receive for neglecting the interior of this defensive line? I will say this. I think what's happened with the interior of the defensive line has been a combination of some neglect, not all neglect, some neglect, and some inefficiencies in the scouting, right? I think they just made some bad draft picks too, right? Because when you look at this D tackle room, there's 3 draft picks in there. A third round pick, a 4th round pick, and I believe Togiai's a 5th round pick. Now, obviously, maybe you want some 2nd round pick resources in there, maybe even a 1st round pick resources, but they have drafted players. And they have signed players in free agency. The issue has been that they have been doing a lot of these 1-year duct tape solutions, right? Sheldon Richardson, we move him out. We bring in the Maliks last year, and then the Maliks are gone, and then we swapped them out with what we have this year in Taven Bryant. And it's just been a lot of 1-year duct tape solutions, and they've been holding up fine the last couple of years. But now the dam finally burst. And I think that's the problem, right? The dam finally burst on these duct tape solutions. You can only put duct tape on the leak for so long until it becomes ineffective. And I think we have reached that point. Look, Andrew Berry has done a great job building out most of this roster. It's unfortunate that this part is not great. Not every GM, no GM is going to be perfect and build the perfect roster. Every roster is going to have its holes. That being said, it cannot be this egregious. So I think something needs to be done in the offseason to get this position to serviceable, because right now it's not serviceable. And I think that's a big indictment on Andrew Berry. It's not like he's in job trouble or anything like that. But, if we're looking at things to put on this report card in the negative section, yeah, sure. Ray Jackson says, hey, how will this new case affect Deshaun Watson? Brother, there's an H in there. Here's what I'm thinking. Well, here's why I know. I know that what has been reported has been, as of right now, this case does not appear to be anything that can affect his suspension going forward. His suspension was for activities of sexual harassment or accusations of sexual harassment from 2019 to 2020 or 2021 or something like that, right? I think that's what that suspension was for all of the accusations between 2019, not a specific set of accusations, all of them. He got this game, right? That's what the suspension is for. They needed 4 of those cases to prove their point, but the suspension, in fact, was, hey, you were doing stuff that made the league look bad from 2019 to 2021. You're being suspended for it. A new case won't really affect his suspension unless it's a new set of cases, right? Unless it's like from a new string of things, right? If he has issues in Cleveland and in the future, I mean, it goes without saying he will be in trouble. He might not even be in the league anymore at that point. But this case seems to be from that set of accusations that he already got suspended for in that time frame. And that's what they worked out between the NFLPA and the NFL. So it does not appear as if that's going to change his suspension officially. Matt Hewitt says, how is Jedrick Wills coming along compared to what he was viewed as a top-tier crop of tackles when he joined the league? He's always seemed to be getting shafted since he's filling the biggest shoes in Cleveland outside of one Akron native strong. Yeah, Jed has a weird relationship with the fans. Some of the fans just really don't like him. They focus on his body language more than his play. Jed's been good. Now, where is he compared to like Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton? I mean, I don't think he's better than Tristan Wirfs, but I would say he's probably a firm number 2 or 3, right? Andrew Thomas has been pretty good as well. You hit a double when you got Jedrick Wills, right? He's not a triple, he's not a home run, but you hit a double. And in the first round, a double is cool. I think that's fine. For whatever reason, people want to fixate on him because he's not the greatest left tackle in franchise history. That's just weird to me. I think he's been fine. Part of it has been he's allowed to have some of these growing pains with the offensive line that the Browns have. But still, he's been pretty good on top of that. I mean, the line's been like we don't talk about this enough, but like when they drafted Jedrick Wills, that was pretty much the last piece that they got in that formula that took this Browns offensive line from terrible in 2019 to the best in 2020, in 2021, in 2022 so far. So ever since Jed's been on this offensive line, this has been one of the best offensive lines of football. I don't get the criticism. And look, it's okay to criticize somebody, but I don't think it's fair criticism. Ashton says, how much of an impact do you think Dion Jones will make this week if he plays? It depends. I think what that linebacking room needs more than anything is an adult in the room. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way towards JOK, Sione Takitaki, or Jacob Phillips. I mean that in a way of there aren't any veterans on the field when those guys are on there, and sometimes they make mistakes that veteran players would avoid them from making. And I think that's the biggest thing that he could do. Think LJ Fort when he joined the Ravens defense in 2019. Predator Magnus says, do you think the Browns overhaul the coaching staff in the offseason, not firing Kevin Stefanski, but of course the rest of the staff? I don't know. Maybe Joe Woods is gone. I think that's leaning towards more likely, and we'll see how he finishes the season. I know I feel like it should be done, but what they do and what I feel like should be done are two different things. And probably Mike Prefer, but I feel like Mike Prefer is the one that should probably be gone the most. He probably has the best chance of staying out of everybody that we've been arguing about whether they should or should not keep their job. So I don't know. Man. It depends how the season ends, too. If you get to the AFC Championship game, the truth is nobody's losing their job, right? So, again, it just matters how the season ends. And I know some people are like, AFC champion, we're 2-3. And 2-3 teams have made it to the championship game before. So, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Small Useless Bread says, just how good does our passing game have to be to actually give Nick Chubb any room? Like, legitimately, we could do what the Bills did and the Steelers did in the first half. And I still think most enemy teams will consider Chubb a bigger threat. Well, until you have – well, think about it like this, man. Here's how I think about it, Small. If Nick Chubb is the best running back in football, think about how good that quarterback has to be to supersede the best running back in football on the game plan chart. He probably has to be elite. It's not about how well the passing game's going. If Jacoby Brissett is throwing for 500 yards, they're just going to let Jacoby Brissett throw for 500 yards. That's the game plan. Let him beat you. It's not about how well the passing game's playing. It's about how respected the passing game is. And that doesn't come with Jacoby Brissett, unfortunately. That comes with Deshaun Watson or a quarterback of that caliber where teams go into it thinking, okay, well, their quarterback's as impactful as a running back. How do we go against this? Maybe he might see some lighter boxes there, but we'll see what happens going forward with that. But that's what it's going to take. Next question comes from Malik, who says, what's your grade on the receiver so far, tight end included? I would say it's a C+ to a B-. It's been pretty good. It's been good to serviceable. Could be better in some areas. When you push them and stress them, they're not necessarily as great as you would want them to be. Against elite pass coverage teams, they're not going to be breaking open that much. But if you put them up against an average unit, they will produce at a good rate. Adam with the next question says, why do people insist they need to give 20 carries to Chubb and Hunt? The crazy thing, Adam, is that they do give 20-plus carries to Chubb and Hunt, and people still complain. Now, I understand. We can have a caveat. Oh, it's about where they run. It's about these specific plays. But let's be real. The criticism isn't, hey, Kevin didn't run on 4th and 1 that one time. The criticism is usually, Kevin don't like to run the ball. Kevin loves to run the ball. But the thing is like they run the ball easily 20 times with Chubb almost every game. I think Chubb's averaging around 20 carries. And then Chubb's getting in Hunt's. Here's the thing. The Browns, Chubb's second in the NFL in carries, and Kareem Hunt's 24th. That tells you how much the Browns run the ball. When your backup running back is 24th in the NFL in carries, that tells you everything you need to know about how often the Browns run the ball. But yeah, the criticism will still be there. Look, when Nick Chubb's that good too, people just want Nick Chubb to be in the game and run the ball every play. That's just not realistic for a running back to stay at that level of play all year and all season and all game. But I understand why people feel that way. That don't mean it's right though. Saman says, who will get the green dot after Phillips since his performance has been poor? I think they're probably going to want to groom Dion Jones for that. He's done it before. He's worn the green dot. He's a veteran player. It's just going to take a while. I don't know who's going to have it in the meantime. John Johnson, but the thing is with Joe Woods, he always puts the green dot with the mic. So it's probably going to be Dion before he's ready. Evan with the question says, hey, is the criticism towards Stefanski in the right place? Continuously hearing complaints about Nick Chubb not getting the ball enough or not seeing enough from Jacoby as far as getting the ball to Cooper or Joku, even though we have a top offense so far. I think the fan base is frustrated right now with the record, and they're taking their frustration, like many other fan bases and almost every other fan base, and they're taking that frustration out on the head coach, even when it's not necessarily his problem. And yeah, you could say Kevin Stefanski, technically he's the head coach. He's supposed to be in charge of the defense as well. But we know this is the NFL. If you have an offensive-minded head coach, they probably run the offense, and they probably leave the defense up to the defensive coordinator. Now, it's Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski's job at the end of the day to evaluate Joe Woods properly, and if Joe Woods is not doing a good enough job, to move on from him in a timely manner. And that's yet to be seen whether that's going to be done or not. But I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think that's what some people, when they're mad and frustrated, they tend to just want to throw it all out. Kevin Stefanski is clearly a good enough offensive mind to justify having him as your head coach. That is clear as day with what he's doing this year. So you'll live with, okay, well, he needs to get faster at making these determinations on these defensive coordinators. You'll live with that because ultimately he is a good enough offensive coordinator that you should be fine. And again, people are going to say his job's not to be the offensive coordinator. His job is to be the head coach, but his main focus is to run this offense. Like, don't get that twisted. That's why they brought Kevin Stefanski here, is to run the offense. You hire Kyle Shanahan, you're not about to fire him because the defense bad, right? You hired Kyle Shanahan to be the head coach, sure, but to run the offense. And I think people are frustrated, and where do frustrations usually get put out on? The head coach. So that's just how this goes. And I think that's be with any team in the league. But, Stefanski, he ain't going nowhere. We all know that. But that's it for this week's Q&A. You guys have a great day. Have an even better night.